All right, so this is part 2 of painting the Roy's Point landing. So in the first part yesterday, or earlier today, we masked off the tree first, then we did the shoreline, and then last we did the horizon line. So this is our reference that we are using. So now we must stretch the paper. And what stretching the paper means is that we are going to pull it so it's as flat as possible to our tabletop surface, because it helps to reduce the warping that we get when we use water on paper. So I take a piece of tape and I make sure that the tape is longer than the sides of the tape, and I put it on my jeans or on my sweater just to pick up some fuzz. And then I go right to the edge of the border here that we have created. And you will do this on your final. So we'll make sure it's straight to the camera. There we go. And we're going to flatten that. We also want to take a beveled edge and flatten that as to the best of our ability. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Now you can reuse this tape over and over again, so we don't waste tape, and there's no need to not use it over and over again. So again, I'm going to do this side, but yet I'm not flattening it yet to the tabletop. I am making sure that it is even on that line. I'm going to compress it down with my thumb, and I'm holding it up at an angle, and I'm giving a gentle pull, and I'm flattening the paper as I'm going across. So then I'm flattening the surface just like that. Nice. There we go. Now I need to do the top one and the bottom one. Same idea, but we don't need to stretch the paper. It just helps to keep it flat. And don't forget to put it on your jeans or on a sweater to pick up the fuzz, just to keep the paper nice and flat to the surface. It won't entirely stop the warping, but it'll help significantly. All right, and then we get that tape on there. Perfect. So hopefully everybody has gotten to this part. Now, if you need to, you can ask the sub to pause to make sure everybody is on the same page here. All right, so we are going to do our background first. So we're going to do our background, middle ground, foreground. So that's how we are going to be painting this. I do have a couple tissues in my hands for in case I need to pick up anything. But I'm also going to put a couple extra clouds in here for fun. And it's good to practice clouds. Clouds can be, challenging. It's up to you. So I'm going to use my round brush, and I'm going to use my flat brush for this. I want to mix my sky color. And when I'm doing this, I'm going to put a little water down here because I want to clean out one of these palettes. Because I want a blue, but I don't want any brown in it. I want it to be a little bit of a brighter blue in here. And I'm going to use the two different blues that we have in our palette to mix them together. So I have the one blue here, and I want to make sure I have enough to make it go across the whole page. And whatever's left over, we want a little bit left over for the water, which we will make darker. So here is getting a couple of drops in there for my sky. And then I'm going to grab that other blue that we have in our palette. And this is more of an ultramarine blue. The other one is more of a cobalt blue. There we go. Getting it to mix well. Picking up a little bit more. All right, that feels pretty good. All right, I'm going to do a graded wash on this. So What I am going to do is I'm going to get my wide brush. I'm putting it in my water, and I am almost going to paint a little bit of water down on this, just ever so gentle, a little bit of water down, just to get the surface ready to take the paint. And I've wet down my brush. I'm going to pick up my color, and I am going to begin taking this color at the top, and I'm going to be blending it down with my brush. So just nice and gentle. Pulling that color across. Now hopefully we've pressed down the tape good enough to cover up so it doesn't go into our tree. So now I'm just going to do a little bit of kind of clouds there, just for fun. And then as we go down here to the horizon, we want to make them smaller and smaller to give that idea of depth happening. And I know the picture does not have these, but I think it's kind of fun just to put them in so we have an idea how to do that. And if I don't feel good about like how it's looking, I can also take a paintbrush into it, but I actually feel like the tissues do a better job. So there we go. We have a lovely cloud in the sky. And this is where we need to let it dry because we have to do our next layer, and we need to put our tape on the opposite side that we're going to be using for our water and for our landscape. So we just kind of want this to dry. So I usually, because I'm really liking how that sky looks, it looks pretty beautiful. So I can't really move on until it's dry. So I'm giving it a little fanning here. That looks pretty good for our sky. And I would definitely use the tissues for the clouds. Do not use paper towels. The tissues are your best bet. So I can tell that it's still wet because it glistens, or I could put my hand on it and it would feel cold. So I just want that all to pretty much dry before I move on. It's a little painful. Sorry, watching paint dry. All right, as that's drying, I am going to gently lift off this tape that we put down on our horizon line, putting it to the side, and I want to be very careful in pulling it up and pull it up at an angle. That looks pretty decent. Yay. I love how that looks. That looks fantastic. So now what we need to do is we need to remask this area so that the water, because we're going to paint the water here. And so we need to cover this up because we don't want this to have these little islands in the background to have paint on them. So we can take our pieces of tape that we used, or we can use new pieces. It's up to you what you want to do. I have a variety of pieces here left from earlier in the day. And so I'm going to re-tear them and put them in, but I'm not going to, I just want to make sure I get them on the horizon line. I don't need to go any further than that because we know that the sky is already dealt with. And when we paint the sky, we're going to be fine. So I'm adding this tape down. And this tape has already been fuzzed up. So I don't need to worry so much about putting it on my jeans or anything like that. Now, you can see I'm trying to avoid putting it into the sky area because I don't want to, the paint is still pretty wet there and I don't want to pull it up. So I'm just putting it right on that horizon line there. Being very careful and thoughtful about doing it. I'm going to do it over here as well. Probably need to grabbing some of this tape that we used earlier because we don't want to be wasteful. And just get it to be flat right there. And going through the surface there. Just making sure. And I'm not flattening it up above, I'm just flattening it down below. Looking at my straight edge pieces. Right there. And back there. Now this little section across, I am going to take a brand new piece of tape on this hard edge. I'm going to put it on my jeans to get the fuzziness off. And I am going to use this straight edge right on it. So hopefully this is dried enough and we put it on there. Fantastic. All right, so we did some lifting, we did a graded wash. Now we're going to do wet on wet. I'm going to paint this a light blue, and then I'm going to go in with a darker blue over it. So I'm going to grab my large paintbrush, and I'm grabbing that color that we mixed up earlier for the sky because it's going to be pretty close. And I'm going to place it down on here, and I'm going to do that color across. And as I'm doing it, I am using the lines kind of going flat. I have some areas there. So get closer here. I'm flowing. It's lighter. I'm going to grab some water here just to get it to spill out and blend a little bit more. Looks very painterly as we're doing this. Getting it to blend in. I'm not doing any blotting of it or lifting it. Letting that go. Getting some of that darker blue, some of that ultramarina blue, and I'm going to start to put that in. Now, see how that bleeds out, kind of a natural bleed. It's quite lovely. Getting that lines to flow here and across. I'm going to get a little bit of that darker edge right there, right on the horizon line as well. Painting away from the tape. And I'm using the lines as a natural ripple across. Blending that out there. Yeah, and I don't think we need to do any lifting here. This looks pretty decent to me. Okay. Now again, it is the art of letting it dry. We really want it to dry because we don't want it to bleed underneath and here, because if you do that, you're going to have some issues. So I'm going to pause now and let this dry, and then there'll be video number 3 after this. So I'm going to stop here, and you can pick up with the next video, but this must dry before we move forward. All right.